Welcome back, everyone. So one important thing that we're going to have to do over the next 2 weeks is be able to plug A, B, and C into formulas. So the first formula we're going to work with is this formula. So for now, I just want us to just look at it and then we'll talk about why it's important. So plugging values in for this equation, our A is 1. So remember, if there's no number in front, that's an invisible 1. Our B is 4 and our C is negative 16. So we're plugging those values into this formula. We're going to plug them in for A, B, and C. So we'll have square root of b squared, so b is 4, and make sure you use the parentheses, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 16. So 4 squared is 16, and then minus 4 times 1 times negative 16 is negative 64. So when we have minus a negative, it's going to turn into a plus. So 16 plus 64 is square root of 80. So if we took square root of 80 in our calculator or in our phone, we would get plus or minus 8.94. I'm going to round it there. So because we had a positive value underneath the square root, we got two solutions. So what that means is if I were to graph a parabola, it's going to hit the x-axis in two different spots. So it's going to have two solutions. Let's try another one. So in this one, A is 3, B is 6, and C is 3. So when I plug in those values, I get b squared, so 6 squared minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is 3. So 6 squared is 36, minus 4 times 3 times 3 is going to be 12 times 3, which is 36. So 36 minus 36 is square root of 0. And square root of 0 is just 0. And it's not plus or minus because you can't have a negative 0. So when you get a solution that's just 0, what this means is that on our graph, we're just going to be touching the x-axis one time. So we have one solution. So that kind of comes back to the idea of when you had solving by square roots and we took square root of 0, that 0 was our one solution on our parabola. Finally, the last type that you might see, we've got a equals 2, b equals 4, and c equals 18. So if I plug those values in, we get b squared, so 4 squared minus 4 times a times c. So 4 squared is 16, and 4 times 2 times 18 is going to give us 144. So right away, you should be able to see 16 minus 144 is going to give us a negative number. But if we actually do that, 16 minus 144 is going to give us negative 128. So if we have square root of negative 128, remember you can't take the square root of a negative number, so this one is actually no solution. So graphically what this means for us is if I had a parabola, it's never going to touch the x-axis, so maybe it's up here. So it should have no solution, so no solutions on the x-axis. So why don't you guys go try the practice problems and try plugging in A, B, and C into this formula.